By Wassi Nasr, he's France 24's expert on jihadi networks. Thank you very much for joining us, Wassim. Now, Europe's main concern is the impact that the fighting that is currently going on with all these different actors will have on the thousands of ISIS fighters who were previously under the custody of the Kurds. Are they escaping from the prisons, and where are they all going?
Well, we had some cases of escape, but the big bunch of them are still in places that are not included in the combat areas. So if we can look at the map, we see where it's happening. So you see the two explosions is where they are combat today, in the town of Ras Lain and around the town of Tal Abyad. And you see the light green is where the Turkish army with its suppletive factions are advancing. You see, so we are still very much far away from the big camps at Al-Hol, for example, next to the town of Hasaka. The only escape cases that are sure and documented happened in Ain Isa, and we're talking about families of jihadis. And even when we say families, it's too broad, because sometimes they're direct families, sometimes it's cousins, sometimes it's a whole village when you talk about Syrians or Iraqis. We know that...
so we're talking about women and children,
yes,
and some of them who are maybe
women
foreigners.
And children, French, escaped from the camp of Ain Isa. We don't know yet where they are. Some say that they want to be arrested by the Turks because they want to avoid to be delivered to the army, the Syrian army of Bashar al-Assad, knowing that France and Turkey has extradition agreements, the what's called the Cazeneuve Protocol since 2014, which means that if they get arrested by the Turks, they will be extradited to France, following this agreement between the Turkish state and the French state, which puts them in a better situation than being held by Kurdish militias in Syria.
So they would obviously rather end up in a French jail rather than...
For those who want to come back, but others say that they want to join Idlib, which is another area, it's a rebel-held area where jihadi factions are very active. So we have to see it. But what we should know, that Kurds were forced to open these prisons since they evacuated the zone, and when you're in a war zone, and there's the prison in this war zone, when this war zone changes hand, it's always prison get open. But the big numbers of jihadis and jihadi families are still held in prisons guarded by the YPG.
And that was one of the reasons that Donald Trump gave for pulling out of Syria, isn't it? He said, Europe, you need to take responsibility for these ISIS prisoners. They are your citizens. You need to take them home and try them.
He said it many times, and he even got back two British citizens that are going to be tried, I guess, in the United States because they are accused of killing a U.S. citizen.
That's the two members of the so-called Beatles, right?
Yes, exactly. And he got back some of American jihadis, and Russians did too. Many Central Asian countries did too. Asian countries did too. Just the Europeans that don't want to get their own. On one hand, they prefer to leave them for the YPG, knowing that the situation there is very changing. So it was a big high risk to take without recognizing the authority of the YPG or even a judicial authority of this group to judge them. They did just want the Kurds to keep them, actually. And then some, like the French, decided to send them to Iraq to get them judged in Iraq, but saying that if they get death sentences, the French state is going to intercede in order for this sentence to never be actually applicated. So it's a real, it's like pushing the problem a little bit away and not taking responsibility for those citizens, which at the end of the day are European citizens. Even the British went as far as taking their nationality from them.
I mean, one of the main criticisms of Donald Trump has been, by pulling out the US forces, that he has undermined all the gains made against the Islamic State group since 2016. Do you think it is feasible that ISIS could regroup and could become a threat
Actually,
once again?
ISIS is not regrouping. ISIS is staying underground for the time being, but they are there. Everybody knows that they are there because they succeeded to do in Syria what they did in Iraq, is to create a web of logistical aid, of supporters on a huge area, which permits them to continue to conduct attacks on daily basis. They attacked the YPG and at a point very close to Al-Hol camp. They attacked the American army in the town of Shaddadi, and on daily basis they kill representatives of the local administrations, militiamen. They attack the Syrian army south of the Euphrates, so they are still present there. And of course, when you speak to them, when you read the literature, they say that they are just waiting for this alliance that was made against them to fall down because of individual interests of different players for them, which will enable them to come back to the scene. Look what happened in Kirkuk in 2017 when Iraqi Shia militias and security forces clashed with the Peshmerga. It permitted the jihadis of the Islamic State to go back on the scene, and this is exactly what's happening today in Syria. So if the forces that are countering them are occupied fighting each other, they'll come back on the scene, because all the objective reasons that made them present there or permitted their presence there are still here, and they are being aggravated on a day-to-day basis.
All right, Wassim, thank you very much. Wassim Nazir there.